Great. I am thrilled that you all are here. As you all know, my name is Taal Hasak-Lowy, and I am the Executive Director of Friends of the Children Chicago. You all were with us just over a month ago. How is that even possible that so much time is left at Friends Fest? And, you know, the heroes of our work are truly our friends. And I received wonderful feedback that we didn't hear enough from them at Friends Fest. And so we really wanted to make that opportunity here for you all today so that you can learn about the work that they do. So without further ado, because we really try to keep this for a half an hour, because your time is sacred and important, it is my real pleasure to introduce you all to the wonderful Jonathan James. Jonathan, if you can introduce yourself, tell people who you are, why you do this work, what you like about the work, and what the struggles are.
Okay, well, hello, everybody. Thank you for being on. My name is Jonathan James. I've been a mentor, professional mentor, since January. I think what drew me to the job is just being able to have an influence on the kids. I always used to say growing up that I aspire to inspire. So knowing that I can work with young boys and be able to open their minds up and, you know, create new experience for them is really what brought me to Friends of the Children.
Great. And when you say sort of what are some of your favorite aspects of the job and what are some of the hardest things about your job?
I think my favorite aspect is that it's like my show. So like, or you could say it's our show. Me and the kids get to create, you know, different outings. You know, we get to build on things that they have interest in. So just knowing that it's, you know, the flexibility to be creative and not get placed in a box, you know, just giving them a lot of what my personality is and learning about their personality. I would say that the hardest thing about the job is that, you know, we take them out of some very rough environments and, you know, we get 3 hours, 4 hours with them, then we have to take them back. And some of these areas that you take the kids back to are almost heartbroken, just seeing that they have to, you know, be involved or just be around this type of environment. So that's probably the hardest part for me personally.
Thank you. So as a reminder, Jonathan and all of our friends, all of our professional mentors work with a roster of 8 youth. And so Jonathan works very, very in depth with the 8 boys on his roster. These are all boys that are in 4th or 5th. I believe all of your boys are in 4th or 5th grade. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Jonathan inherited a roster of boys from friends that we promoted into management leadership positions. And so I'm hoping, I really want to focus. And so Jonathan had, and I had the privilege of just getting to talk with him to learn, hear just what the latest is with each of the kids so that we can really highlight some stories with you. There's so many things I want to share with you. We're going to stay focused on one child and family because it really gives you a sense of what we do, but if we have time, we may pull in examples from a few others. So there's one boy that for the sake of today's conversation, we'll call Julian. So before we go into Julian's whole home life, can you just tell us about the wonderful little boy that Julian is?
Julian is a dancer, loves to dance. Every time he gets in the car, he has to have music. Very caring kid. Very protective of his siblings, very, very protective of his siblings. He's the type of kid that, you know, when we're out, he can just walk up to anybody and just, hey, you want to be my best friend? Like he just has a really big heart. And it's just sad that, you know, the experiences that he had to go through created like this, you know, fight or flight in him that he has to like, you know, battle with every day. But just seeing him when he's away from that element, I mean, amazing kid, beautiful spirit.
So Julian and his smile, which I'll send you all the pictures so you can see who Julian is, would light up any room, anytime. So Julian's being raised by his great aunt. His mom has been in his life a few times. He's being raised with 2 younger siblings and a two younger siblings in his home, or two younger siblings and a cousin? What is it now?
His older sibling, youngest sibling.
An older sibling, a younger sibling. And his great aunt is an incredible woman, but like has a lot of struggles herself. I'll just give you all just a quick anecdote. They've been part of our community for almost 5 years now. When COVID started, they had no experience with technology. She didn't know how to use a computer. Her kids were very young. And Fallon, our family and community engagement specialist, who used to be a mentor for one of the kids in the family, went over there and put colors on the different buttons of the computer that they got from CPS to teach them how to utilize that. So one of the struggles that you sort of alluded to, that Julian is very protective of his siblings. And if something upsets him, can you describe how you described to me sort of what happens with his emotions if he gets upset?
I would just have to describe it as Julian goes 0 to 100. I don't think it's any malicious intent behind it, but he blacks out sometimes, and it's very hard for him to, come back regulated, because he just knows that, these are the people that I live with, that I feel safe with. You're harming these people. I have to protect them, and sometimes it could get a little aggressive.
So one of the things that we do is that we speak a lot, and Melanie, our program director, and our program manager speak with the team, and we bring in experts to talk about trauma. And I'm so sorry about the lighting on me, but you can hopefully hear me. To talk about trauma and how, when you're exposed to trauma, what it does to the brain and how a person can react if they get triggered. And so the technical term is dysregulated, right? Like, so if they're feeling unsafe, and what Jonathan and I said, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like if Julian's losing at a game, he can be a fine sport. But if he feels unsafe or one of the people close to him, that's what triggers him to 100. Is that correct?
Yes. Like, we play basketball, I try not to let him win all the time. I think it builds better character. But when he loses, he loses with a smile, like he goes to the next game. But if it's a situation where he feels like him or his siblings are unsafe, it's almost like, if I could compare it to the Incredible Hulk, it could get to that level.
Right. And so that's what happens when someone's been exposed to a lot of trauma. And so one of the things, sorry, you also told me that you worked with him to identify 3 calming techniques. Can you describe that to everyone?
Yeah, so I just tried to come up with something simple that I think he would understand. So of course, we said we will try to reach out to a teacher or an adult when he feels like he's becoming like this. We talked about counting backwards from 10, so we can also work on our math. And then we talked about walking away. He really made an effort, or he really makes an effort to try all 3. But sometimes it gets to the point, like one instance, he tried to walk away from a situation at school, and he kept walking, and the school couldn't find him. So we had to talk about, not going too far. But yeah, that's one example.
So Jonathan comes up with so Jonathan, I guess, right? So how do you come up with these strategies? How do you know what to suggest, and like what tools do you have yourself, or do we offer you through Friends of the Children to help you?
Of course, working with Friends of the Children, we're equipped with a lot of, education just to, help us reinforce the things we're doing. But for me personally, I think that's the beauty of mentorship, that I get to build these relationships. So I get to learn what they like. I know when Julian gets in the car to put on a particular song, because he's gonna ask me 2 minutes into the ride. Julian likes to dance, so I make sure that, if we plan an outing, we're moving around. So I think it's more so getting to know the kids that you have, because they're human beings. Like, I know sometimes you might step back and say, like, hey, they're going through a really hard time, I have to like save them. But you don't, because they have power. They are powerful kids. They're creative kids. They're special kids. You just have to let them show you that. And sometimes, for coming from the environment that they're in, they automatically get written off. And you don't look at them as people. You kind of look at them as a charity case. I don't do that with my kids. Like, hey, you're a person too. You have likes, you have dislikes. You might like something I like, you might not like something I like, and we just build off of that. So that's how the outings are created, just knowing their personalities and just trying to do something small each day.
Thank you for that. And sort of just some of the training, just so that people know that so the team reads books together. We have a mental health consultancy of experts that work, and then he has supervision every week to find techniques of working with the kids. So there's two more things with Julian that I want to get at. So first, can you talk about the assessment that we had done for him, and why did we do it, and what did you learn from the assessment, and how are we using the results of that?
All right, so we had an assessment done with Julian for cognitive testing. Basically, he met with a doctor and they just played different games and had different conversations. And it was basically just to see like what were his strengths and what would be his weaknesses in the classroom. And I took him there. I took him and his great aunt, took him to the session. They did the testing, took him home. The next day, 2 days later, we got the results. And I got to be honest with you, like my heart really just broke seeing that he's struggling with ADHD, he's struggling with depression, he has a speech impediment, and the school that he's in is not really supporting. So for instance, he has a speech impediment, he deserves 30 minutes to 45 minutes with a speech therapist. There isn't anyone at the school that's even on board as a speech therapist. So it's like knowing that a lot of these things he was struggling with, he's not really being supported in other areas. So it kind of, of course I want to do all that I can, but sometimes it gets tough. Like, wow, he has dyslexia. I'm not, certified in that, but I have to make sure that I, make an effort. But it takes a village, and I would expect that the school that he's in, it will be there to support him. So that was probably the most frustrating thing. Like I really became angry just listening to the doctor just tell me like, yeah, he's struggling with this, he's struggling with this. And it's like, okay, he has a solid foundation with his great aunt. He has us. Okay, what is the school doing? So yeah, that's another one of the toughest parts.
Right. So just to back up and give context for a moment. So we had Julian assessed because he was really behind academically. We have a great relationship with a clinical psychologist who does it for us at about 50 or 60% discount. Because then we take his report and we go to the school and we advocate for him together with his caregiver, which in his case is his great aunt. Because too often when our caregivers go in to advocate for their kids, the schools that are stressed out and trying to do too many things don't listen to them. And even when Julian's sister also, we got cognitive testing for her, and Jonathan and his sister's friend, the professional mentor Poshlin, went together with the great aunt to the IEP meeting, the individualized education plan meeting, to advocate. And the school isn't jumping to provide all the resources they need to, but our job is to continue to be the advocates on his behalf, because the school district is required to provide appropriate education. People that come from means or resources instinctively do that for their children and are in there advocating for their children. And if my own daughters had dyslexia, I'm not trained to teach someone in dyslexia, but it's my job as a mother to make sure that I get them the resources that they need. And so that's right now what we're doing for Julian and for his sister and for the other kids in our program. There's so many things I'm trying to squeeze in before we get to questions. But one of the things that I love that you do with your boys is you want them to build up their self-esteem, but can you talk about just getting them haircuts and sort of what you've done with that?
Yeah, so that's probably a part of like my personality. I would get haircuts like every 2 weeks. I didn't do it as a kid, but I did it as an adult. But I know as an adult, I get a haircut, you look good, you feel good. I want the same for my boy. So if I see that, hair is a little bit all over the place, we're gonna get it taken care of. And with Julian, the first couple of weeks getting to know him, taking him on different outings, I was noticing that, he had a lot of hair. And we went to the barbershop, we got it shaped up, and his confidence went from like 0 to 1,000. So a kid that was like, somewhat reserved when he was in a general ed setting in class was now a little more talkative. So that's very important for me with my boys, because I want them to, always feel like, that they belong in the room too. And I'm in this room and I look good. So
okay, so there's two more. I keep saying two more things, but anyways, so one of the things of the core assets, like the main social, there's certain skills that we're helping our kids build, and there's 9 different social emotional skills that we call core assets. But one of them is find your spark. We want every friend to really help every kid figure out what makes them shine, what makes them so happy and passionate, and then leverage that passion to learn other skills. And so for Julian, now Jonathan is a total basketball buff, and sometimes people learn their passions because they admire someone in their life, and so many of Jonathan's boys love basketball. But can you talk about the role that basketball and working out has had in Julian's life, and how you've worked literacy development and pro-social development into basketball as well?
Yeah, so that goes into how we kind of create our outings. So knowing that Julian loves basketball and I'm a basketball coach, I came up with the idea that we were going to make basketball vocabulary and create a scavenger hunt. So we went to a basketball practice and we wrote down 5 things that basketball players need: shorts, jersey, socks, shoes, basketball. We wrote them down a couple of times so he can get the spelling and, get a little grammar in. And then I had him take my phone and I said, hey, I want you to go up to each player and introduce yourself and ask, can I take a picture of a certain item? So he would go up, hey, I'm Julian. Can I take a picture of your shoes? Hey, I'm Julian. Can I take a picture of your socks? The next outing, we was working on positions. So we didn't go to the gym. We happened to go out to eat at Buffalo Wild Wings, his favorite place. Michigan State and Kentucky was playing. So I showed him each position. Actually, a couple of the players that were on the court I have coached before, so he was really excited about that. And we went through each position, spelled it out, talked about each role, and that's another outing for us. So just, I've been using this quote a lot, how you eat an elephant, piece by piece. So that's how I attack an outing. So knowing that, he's so interested in basketball, I just try to break it down into the smallest pieces, and each time we connect, we work on something.
And then the last thing before we open it up for questions, can you talk about Miss Katie? That's Julian's great aunt, and about the relationship that you have with her. And then Fallon, if you're on the call, just to talk about sort of how after Jonathan's finished, sort of how we've helped Miss Katie in other ways beyond just directly with Julian. So Jonathan, about your relationship with Miss Katie.
Miss Katie is truly the real MVP. I talk to her almost every day. She doesn't bite her tongue. She's going to let you know exactly how she feels. And I mean, at the end of the day, and just fully being transparent, like, she's tired. Like, she's the great aunt, and she's raising these kids like, they're their own. And Julian calls her mom because he looks to her as mom. And, she doesn't hesitate if Fallon finds something that could help push the kids forward. She's right on it. If she has to take them on a bus and get them somewhere for some extra tutoring, she'll do it. So I try my best with Miss Katie. Like, if she needs anything, I'm there in a second, because I know, like, she really puts herself out there for all 3 of the kids in the house. So, Fallon can contest to it that she's like really a strong woman.
Thank you, Jonathan. So everyone, so this is Fallon. She's been with us for over 4 years. She was one of our mentors and is now our family and community engagement specialist lead. So Fallon, just very short so that we have time for questions. Can you just talk a little bit about Miss Katie and the support we've given the family?
Well, I just have to agree with Jonathan, everything he said. Miss Katie is a strong woman. She loves those kids, and she does any and everything she can for them. If she takes a bus to Logan Square for tutoring, and they live in Lawndale, just because she's that dedicated and she wants the best for the kids. So like Jonathan said, I do anything that she asks me to do because she's the backbone to that family and she's keeping the kids together. We've helped her with resources for rental assistance. I helped her learn how to work the computer. I've encouraged her to try to take care of herself because she doesn't all the time. But we're just really there to support her in whatever way that we can, just so that the kids can still have that stability because she's really all that they have. So anytime that we can be of assistance to her, then we do it. Like it's not a thought about it. It's anytime she asks, and she doesn't ask for much. But if we have any resources, I make sure that I get them to her, and anything we have for the kids, she's there and she makes sure that it happens. So she's awesome. And we're grateful that the kids have her. And like Jonathan said, she's tired, but she's still pushing through. And, you know, that's all we can ask for. So we just want to continue to support her.
Yeah, and there's the two things that I'll add to that. Thank you, Fallon, is that we have provided food for the families many times over the last 4 years. Miss Katie was recently in the hospital, and Fallon was in close touch with Fallon, and Fallon was just encouraging her that she needs to take care of herself so she can be there for her kids. Again, our caregivers are beautiful people that live very, very hard lives, and we feel very privileged to work with them. So I'd like to open it up for questions because it's hard for me to shut up because I want to tell you so many things, but I want to know, what do you want to know? What have we not told you?
How do the families come to you?
Excellent. So thank you. So the first 2 years that we were in existence, we've been around for 4.5 years, we worked in partnership with the school system. And so they identified high poverty schools in areas that are greatly impacted by gun violence. And we went into the kindergarten classes, and our friends, it's not me, but our program team went in and observed the kindergartners for 6 weeks. And we do what we call a reverse draft. We're looking for the kids that don't come to school regularly, that are late, that aren't picked up after school, that are acting out in the classroom. We had someone on our team that used to say, like, we had a sneak peek to who our kids were because their names were always on the chalkboard because they were getting in trouble. And then we talked to the teacher and the social worker and the principal and find out when they call home, who are they having trouble getting a response from? Because those are our families.
Yeah.
One of the things that we realized, and that was a great way to identify kids. One of the things that I realized is that 6 weeks is a long time. Like if we add up how much it costs for us to observe those kids, I was like, and the schools sometimes are very prejudiced and biased against our families. They want to help the kids, the families that just need an extra leg up. They've already given up hope on kindergartners. And we have Felix is here. He's one of our program managers, but he used to be, he's paired with a kid that Jonathan has right now, who sat at a desk facing the back of the classroom. And the teacher's like, forget about him. He's dumber than a box of crayons because he had a really tough home life. And we're like, no, that's one of our kids. Because we want the kids that society and people have given up on that child and that family because we believe that children are full of potential. So since then, we've shifted to try to partner with community organizations. And so we're dancing with DCFS, the foster care system. We have many of our kids are in the foster care system. We partner with violence reduction organizations. So that are working with adults, so their younger siblings or their children. Our referrals, we work with pediatricians, we work with some schools, and some other community resource partners that can say, like, here are our families that are really struggling or that we're struggling to adequately engage, and we know they're really struggling at the home. And then we devote up to 3 months to gain their trust to enroll them in our program. So families cannot voluntarily sign up for our program. This is what makes us very, very different than other programs. Because if a kindergartner has an adult in their life that knows they benefit from a mentoring program, they should be in a mentoring program for sure, but another mentoring program. We're really trying to do outreach to reach those families that don't trust systems, that don't believe that anyone really wants to help them, and distrust systems. And then we work to gain their trust to enroll them into our program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
I have a question. What happens in the case where the caregiver, maybe like this great aunt, was hospitalized? What happens to the children in that case?
Excellent question. So can you guys give the response, actually what happened with Julian, and then I'll talk more broadly. So Jonathan or Fallon?
You want me to take it, Jonathan?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Fallon.
Well, when I spoke with her, the youth's mother is kind of like in and out, and at that time, the youth's Julian's mother was back at the house, so she kind of pops in and out every couple of months. She may resurface, but she happened to be at the house at that time, so the kids were at home with her, and her mother. They both were at the house while she was in the hospital.
Thank you, Fallon. So you touched upon one of a really tough issue that we have. We can't solve every issue that our kids have. We have a mom that's really struggling with alcoholism right now, who has 5 kids at home, and it is a rough situation. And DCFS, the foster care system, has been out to observe and isn't providing resources and hasn't taken the kids away. And look, I have days that I wish I could bring those kids to my house so that she could go into rehab to take care of herself, but it's not possible. And so what we do, that's why we created the family and community engagement specialist positions. We have Fallon and one other, because they are scoping the city so that we can find every resource that's out there and that's possible. And if we can't find a resource, we cry and talk with our families and just support and love on them, because even that is something. So we just, many programs, like we're an after school program. I have some funders that don't fund us because they don't fund us yet, because they don't understand where to put us. They're like, Taal, are you like an academic program? Are you a social service program? And we're all of those things, because people don't live their life in silos. And we love our families for exactly where they are. And then just try to help them find the resources, like make sure that they feel safe, that they can open up to us about what their challenges are, and to try to find resources from them. So a quick question, and then we're going to wrap up. How do you as friends and staff manage the empathy demands on you, especially as you return the children after an outing to their home environments? Jonathan, how do you deal with that? How do you take care of yourself? Like when you talked about that it's so challenging to have them go back home.
I think starting out, it was really tough emotionally, taking them back into that situation. Like I would come home and just like feel defeated after, the kid left super excited. I think now, as I've been in a role, I've learned to really trust our families and our youth, because if I wasn't around, if friends of the children wasn't around, they would find a way to survive. You have to give that power back to them. So I do as much as I can, almost like working out. Like some people go in the gym for an hour, some people go in the gym for 4 hours, some people don't go at all. But as long as you get up and do something, you move the needle a little bit. So I just kind of, sit back and think about the positive moments that I have in the outing, and just try to remember that, that these are powerful human beings that just need a little help.
Thank you. And so there's 2 things that I'll add to that. One, all of our friends have one-on-one supervision every week with their program manager. And our job is to take care of our friends so the friends can take care of the children and families. And it's vital that we take care of ourselves, and that the friends are taking care of themselves so that they can be there for their family. So if we see that a friend has been through a really challenging time, we're going to encourage them to take a few days off. We are running a long marathon with our families, and we cannot make the tough obstacles in their life go away overnight. But what we can do is see their humanity, believe in their possibility and their potential, and then just lever that relationship and just bring in as many connections and resources and power, right? Agency for them as possible. And so the thing that I'll leave you with, because I really would love to talk with you all day long, is that, to Jonathan's point, the families that we work with are all beautiful, incredible human beings, full of possibility. If you don't provide a child that experiences the hardship that our children and families are going through, you cannot be surprised if they end up with a bunch of negative outcomes. The research shows us that. Not only physically on their own bodies are they more prone to get sick, but they're more likely to act out and just be angry at the world. And so what I love about this program, and why I really appreciate that you all are spending part of this gray, cold day with us, is to believe in their humanity, and to say that if we just invest in them and give them support and help them get haircuts and help them process their feelings and learn about ways to calm down and get assessed, so we have a tool that we can go advocate for them in school so they actually get taught the way they need to get taught, they're all going to flourish and have wonderful lives. And so I just want to thank you all very, very much for making this possible and for joining us today. And you'll get a follow-up email from me, but if you have any more questions, always feel free to reach out. I'd love to come host you in our clubhouse. And mostly, I'm just really appreciative that you're a friend of Friends of the Children. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.